What is going on, Colts Nation? Welcome back to another Bring the Juice Colts podcast live stream. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you everybody tuning in, flying in real quickly. What's up, Matt? How you doing? Guys, we wanted to talk a little bit more about L'Jarius Sneed, Quandre Diggs. There's been a lot happening over the last 24 hours that we really want to discuss. But before we do that, well, we have a bunch of you piling on in right now. Be sure to like the stream, guys, wherever you're watching. Greatly appreciate that if you would, and be sure to comment and be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. We greatly would appreciate that as well. But Cody, I mean, it's definitely been a very interesting last, I would say 24 hours, because we've been hearing from a couple different people saying that the Colts are really like the team to beat when it comes to L'Jarius Sneed. And then we saw the tweets last night of Zaire Franklin and a bunch of other things going on. I mean, how committed are you to the L'Jarius Sneed trade if it indeed happens?
I'm all aboard, man. I'm all ready to go. You know, it's funny. I've been thinking about this a lot recently, so much so that I actually had a dream last night that in the dream the Colts had traded for L'Jarius Sneed. So you can say it's been on my mind a lot as of recent. And then obviously, Derek, we know the Quandre Diggs stuff. The report came out like an hour or so ago from Destin, talking about how there's mutual interest there between Quandre Diggs and the Indianapolis Colts. And so obviously that would be a huge addition to their secondary, at that free safety position, which we know, Derek, is, something the Colts really lacked last year, was that consistency at that position. And so I do feel like that is one thing that, is really exciting. And then really, Derek, from what I've heard with the L'Jarius Sneed stuff, it really seems like right now the ball's in Kansas City's court, and they have to make a decision on, are they going to keep Sneed or are they going to indeed go through with the trade with him? And so that, I think, is what we're waiting on right now. And again, I know Destin added yesterday that teams are hoping, he said either yesterday or in the next couple days that the Chiefs will make the decision, and then they can kind of get the ball rolling on some trade compensation and stuff like that. And so it'll just be interesting right now. And again, who knows where they're at in that process, but as of right now, nothing has happened on the L'Jarius Sneed front. But yes, I mean, I'm all on board, Derek, especially if you're not going to be giving away that first round pick. Really, for me, it's like all that other stuff I'm good with trading, because rarely does a player of his caliber become available, really, and a guy that fits like a glove to what your defense does. And so I just think it makes a whole lot of sense for Indianapolis in that standpoint to, do all they can. And again, there's been reports that, had he been a free agent, he would have been the top target for them. I just wonder right now, are they, kind of just discussing compensation, or if they do decide, to trade him, are they just discussing compensation? And that's just the biggest hurdle right now, is just figuring out what is fair for both sides. So that's kind of the latest that I've heard. Actually, Derek, the guy that broke that news yesterday about the Colts being front runners, I actually messaged him and just kind of asked him, hey, are there any other news that you have? And he kind of just said right now, the Colts are, here, let me pull it up. He said, Indy's, last I've heard, they're hesitant to give picks. And so I wonder if it's just a negotiating thing right now, back and forth, kind of figuring out what that'll look like. You know what I mean? So that's for what I've heard. That's kind of where we stand, but definitely a lot more potentially imminent sort of news, it seems like, or it appears, with a guy like Diggs. So definitely think that is be a good addition for the Indianapolis secondary. Adds a very much needed veteran voice in that, really young safety room, two guys entering year 3, and Nick Cross and Rodney Thomas. And so I think that would make a whole lot of sense for Indianapolis to pursue that. That's kind of the latest, Derek, with those two guys. And I think those have been kind of our top targets, if you will. I know the Colts have also been linked to Justin Simmons as well. Another safety out there, formerly of the Denver Broncos, still right around that 31 age there. So it definitely seems like Indy has a lot of lines in the water right now, Derek, for some veteran guys. And, the things that I've heard from different people who, are kind of plugged into the organization, Derek, is that Indianapolis really is, they're very like adamant in adding some veteran guys here into this, defensive backfield. And so I think that's definitely a great thing. Like Indy knows that, they need that. And so they're not just burying their head in the sand and saying, we like the guys we have. They know that they clearly need to upgrade at some pretty important positions where they struggled last year, whether it was due to youth or an experience or whatever it is. So I guess that's positive that the Colts aren't just blind to this, that they know they know that it was an issue last year, and they know they need to do something. And so maybe that does push them, Derek, to, get a deal done here with, Diggs, get a deal done here with the Chiefs for Snead. I would be totally good with that, man. Totally, absolutely good with that for both these guys. I think that would automatically upgrade 2 positions. Honestly, 2 of your weakest positions on defense last year, Derek. I think that would bring an automatic upgrade, 2 automatic upgrades to your defense, and I couldn't be happier if you brought them both in. Absolutely.
Yeah, so I mean, we'll continue to talk about both of these guys. Really, we'll just continue to talk about it. But I will say, I mean, I'm at this point now where, and shout out to the 630 people in here right now, guys. Be sure to like the stream wherever you're watching. Be sure to comment. Be sure to subscribe. All that great stuff. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make sure to come over to YouTube, guys, if you can, and like the stream over here and watch it over here. It helps us out more. But when it comes to the secondary right now, Cody, right now we just saw Kendall Fuller get signed by the Dolphins, right? And that one for me is the rough one, because I look at it and I say, man, like that was me having a backup option in case this L'Jarius Sneed thing didn't work out. But now it's kind of like, now that he's gone, for me personally, I don't know if there's another corner out there on this market that I would say, yes, I want to go and spend that X amount of money on that said player for anything right now. Honestly, I'm at that point. So it's like, it's L'Jarius Sneed or bust when it comes to this cornerback market, so at least for the free agent market. And then, if that is what ends up happening, in my opinion, I think that you just end up going with the, you're going to end up going with the corner in the draft. Now, for the safety market, it's definitely a lot more easy for the Indianapolis Colts right now. We've heard, the different options, right? Justin Simmons is still out there. Quandre Diggs, there's mutual interest there, right? Bringing back Julian Blackmon. And there's still a couple other guys. Like, I think there's about 5 or 6 safeties still in the market at the safety position that I could sit here and say, oh man, like I'm really excited about the potential to bring in any of those guys. What are you thinking? Do you think that it's still for Indianapolis has to be like full steam ahead on L'Jarius Sneed, or do you think they might have to start shifting their output towards safety? Because again, we don't have a safety right now, Cody. No one. So it's kind of a weird thing right now.
Yeah, and I do think that, Derek, you've backed yourself into this corner where now L'Jarius Sneed's the only like viable guy that you'd say, if you brought him in, he's your clear-cut number 1 guy, and you're backing yourself into a corner here. So either Chris Ballard is going to look like an idiot here, or he's pressing to get this deal done, right? And I guess we'll see which one happens here. But Derek, if it is over draft compensation, I already said it before, but I'm kind of just like, if it's not 15, like this is a Pro Bowl player, and I know Chris Ballard's had some hits and misses when it comes to cornerbacks, but I don't know. I just am like, it's hard to like pass up something like that. A player like that rarely comes available. I know he's going to cost a decent amount of money, but Derek, that will just help eliminate one of your biggest glaring needs on this defense. And then you can go address in the draft, getting another wide receiver or getting, a pass rusher, right? You can do a lot more, and it doesn't back you into this corner where you make the excuse, oh, we can't, get all these guys. We can't address all these positions because blah, 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 blah. It's like, no, you could have, but you chose not to. And so I just think it's something where it's like you have to get a deal done now, in my opinion, because if you're sitting there and you're Chris Ballard, and if you're the Colts and you're going to, not make a deal, not get a deal done because it's over a 5th round pick or whatever it is, then that's just ridiculous. Get the deal done, make it work. If you're the front runners and if Kansas City's willing to deal, get it done, whatever it takes. As long as it's not that 15th overall pick or really a 1st round pick, I'm good, Derek. I'm totally good with that. I am totally good with that because he's 27 years old and he's young and he fits exactly what you want to do defensively. And it's like, it's so obvious. If he becomes available, it's no question. There's a no-brainer here. So, and it's really your only viable option. So that's kind of where I stand on the corner position right now in the Snead thing. It's like you could have, saved yourself some draft compensation potentially with Kendall Fuller, but, you allowed him to go to Miami.
And the contract worthiness too. You're only paying Kendall Fuller $8.5 million a year too. So I know he's a little bit older and he maybe isn't quite a zone corner, but he's definitely going to be worth half the price.
Yeah, right. And that is true. But, I guess I am glad that the Colts aren't just trusting in Rodney Thomas or Nick Cross another year of them. I'm glad that at least they're admitting, hey, maybe these guys aren't ready to take on that kind of role. We need more consistency at free safety. And so I am totally good with that. And I do think Julian Blackmon still needs to be on the table, Derek. I do. And I don't think he's going to cost that much. So, even if you do sign Diggs, you still have a hole at strong safety. So I think you need to make, 3 moves here, honestly. You get a corner, you get L'Jarius Sneed, you sign a guy like Quandre Diggs or Justin Simmons, then you bring back Julian Blackmon. And then boom, yep. Derek, you look at that, like you have just cut your needs in half right there. If you would say those 3 needs and then you talk about, weapon and pass rush, like that would just help you so much, Derek, in just really helping to help this defense moving forward because, at the end of the day, your secondary is still extremely young. You don't have hardly any guys with experience out there. Heck, you started 2 rookie corners for the majority of the year. I know you have Kenny Moore, but you really don't have a lot of outside experience right now. And so if Jalen Jones and Dallas Flowers can be your cornerbacks 3 and 4, I think you're doing pretty well because they can be serviceable, but you still don't have that true lockdown type of guy. And L'Jarius Sneed, he's not perfect. He's not the best corner in the NFL, but he's a really darn good corner, Derek. And I think it's definitely worth, a day 2 pick. I really do think that. And I know the contract's 100%. Probably the biggest hurdle, one of the bigger hurdles here, but you have the cap space to do it. Like, what else are you going to do with that cap space? And you could still be flexible with it, right? We've talked about that. You can cut some guys. You can restructure some deals. Whatever's got to happen, you got to make it happen if you're Chris Ballard and you're the Colts here.
I'm just looking at this, Cody, and I'm saying for me personally, I feel like the need to bring back Blackmon and sign another safety is more valuable than bringing in L'Jarius Sneed. Now, that's just me personally because I just look at it and I say, if you're Chris Ballard, right, you say to yourself, now my ultimate thing here, Cody, is I guarantee this is what Ballard is thinking in his head. And it's the same argument that he gave to you and I last offseason when we asked him about the offensive linemen, right? He has faith in a particular group of guys every single time you ask him that question. And this is what I think is going to happen. He's going to go all in on L'Jarius Sneed. Everything else, he's going to try to bring in a safety. One or the other, doesn't matter who, he's going to try to bring in one. But at the end of the day, you're still in the same position, safety-wise, as what you were going to be in at the end of last season. You're either going to bring back Julian Blackmon or you're going to bring in a new guy, but you're not going to be, I doubt that Ballard brings in both Blackmon and another safety, because I don't see it happening, because Ballard just is like that and always leaves one position short when it comes to that. And I think that he's going to try to get Snead, and then he's going to try and either bring Blackman back or get one of these other safeties. And then he's going to be like, well, we're just going to trust that either Nick Cross or Rodney Thomas is going to figure it out. And instead of just getting both of those positions shored up. And I'm telling you, I have a strong feeling that's what it is. And it infuriates me that that's what I feel like we have to do. I almost feel like we have to debate on which position needs to be covered more. And I'm like, I would just love for Indy to be able to, like, everything left you have in you, Snead, Diggs, and Blackman. The remainder of your cap, you can do that with the ability to increase your cap if you restructured some contracts and were willing to cut some people. But again, Ballard's also not doing that, Cody, and it angers me there also that we still haven't seen him do that either. I know we don't have a ton of cap room left, and I don't know if you're able to get enough cap to where you could get Snead, Diggs, and Blackman back all at once. You might be cutting it close. You might be able to, as it currently stands, but you're going to need some extra. You're going to need some extra room. And I'm just sitting here and I'm telling myself, like, why has no restructures been done yet? And I'm just so baffled by it. I don't know if he's just checking off his scenarios for it. Maybe he's just trying to get the pieces first and then make the cuts and cut downs after. But it just seems like as if he's just not taking advantage of the opportunity that he has there.
Well, Derek, it's still very early in free agency. So, I mean, with the safety market, I mean, he could, like, how much are these guys actually going to demand, I guess, is going to be the biggest question, because we obviously saw what Xavier McKinney got, with that deal and stuff. But I think the difference for me, Derek, where I would probably disagree with you in is I see a little bit more of the reasoning behind trusting the offensive line to bounce back than I do these young safeties, because the offensive line actually has proven something. These young safeties really haven't proven anything, so I think it'd be very foolish if Chris Ballard were to, just rely on these guys again when they didn't show that either of them showed that they could truly be the guy moving forward and could warrant confidence moving forward. That's why they're bringing in Quandre Diggs. That's why they're interested in him, because it's just not a thing. And Derek, I mean, I guess the thing that I don't agree with as well from what you said is, like, if they bring in Diggs, he's a free safety. So what, are you going to go move Nick Cross to strong safety? I don't think that's happening. I personally think you bring back Blackman. I do. I really do. But you're right. You're going to have to restructure some things. I really do believe you'll have to do that. And if it comes down to that and the Colts have to do that, I think they will. But again, it's still early. And fortunately for the Colts, the safety market especially still is virtually untouched at this point. So there's still a lot of options here. So I feel all right about the safety room right now, especially considering that the Colts have interest in a couple guys at the free safety position. So that's kind of how I feel about it.
Just getting a little bit more impatient, man. I know you and I have been both saying the same thing, that, and the worst part about it now is, like, this is where the Colts with Chris Ballard have really made a lot of their biggest moves, is after the first 2 days happen, and maybe a week or two down the line, you start seeing Ballard really get guys for a lot better things, so yeah. I mean, it is one of those situations. And now you have all these different people that are waiting it out, trying to get as much money out of their contracts as they possibly can. That's why a bunch of these guys haven't re-signed anywhere. So, I mean, there's a definite pick of the litter, but I mean, it's definitely very true.
Yeah, and again, when you look at some of the more notable moves the Colts have made over the last number of years, right? I mean, Derek, at this point, the last couple of years, the Colts hadn't even made some of their biggest moves they've made in free agency, right? Like they traded for DeForest Buckner, like in a couple days from now. They waited to sign Stephon Gilmore till April. They signed a Bukum, on the 17th of March. So like that, you're right. The Colts do wait a little bit. They do wait a little bit in order to get their guys maybe at more of a price that's good for them, right? So they typically sit out of that first wave and they try to get some of these guys who aren't demanding maybe the top dollar necessarily, but still can be good players at their positions. And so that's kind of what I think maybe that's what the Colts are doing with the safety market, because it's like nobody's really, moved, and maybe the Colts have offered Blackman a contract and they're like, hey, here's what we're offering you. Go see what other teams are offering you and come back to us and we'll see what we can do. I could see the Colts doing that pretty easily. I really could see them doing that. And again, in reality, Derek, Blackman, like we said, what, $6, $7, $8 million per year? I think we'd be pretty happy with that if you brought back Julian Blackman for that kind of money. I mean, he's 25 years old, and he's a pretty good safety when he's on the field. But again, the fact is he hasn't been on the field for, an extended period of time. Derek, one name we didn't mention that Garrett brings up, Xavier Howard's still out there. So even if the L'Jarius Sneed thing wouldn't work out, Xavier Howard is a veteran guy. I know he's not like the greatest corner in the world, but he's still out there. So there still are a few options, but not like the top options. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get a little, I don't know if I should be as much concerned with Xavier Howard. I mean, it's just one of those things where, his first 5 seasons, he's had some really good seasons with the Miami Dolphins, but over the last 2 years, I mean, it really hasn't quite been the same. I mean, he's been semi-reliable. I mean, he's only missed 2 games in 2022 and only missed, he missed 4 games in 2023. So, I mean, really wasn't any more healthy than Julian Blackman was. But, I mean, it's just the big playmaking ability from him, I don't think is there anymore. In 2020, I mean, this guy was the best at what he does. I mean, it's just unbelievable what he's been able to do. I mean, but I just say over the last 2 years, it just doesn't look like he's gotten better. If anything, it just looks like he's either been the same or has gotten worse. And that's what I'm concerned with with Xavier Howard, and especially with the amount of money that he's going to be asking for, right? I mean, Xavier Howard's not going to be cheap. I mean, he's going to probably get over $10 million a year for whatever contract he gets. So, I mean, is it worth paying that for a guy that I would likely say is past his prime? I just don't know if I'm willing to do that kind of money. So, I mean, it's just one of those weird things. And bro, why are people in the chat talking about Alec Pierce? Like, why are we talking about Alec Pierce here? We have been talking about
that
the whole time. And you guys talking about Pierce as if you know anything about the wide receiver position. First of all, Indy's not going to get any more wide receivers in this free agency class. And we're going to be drafting one, I'm sure of it. And again, like you guys keep saying one trick pony, but he didn't have a quarterback to actually throw the football to him for that one trick pony that actually made him good. So again, just focus on something other than the wide receiver position right now, please. Yes, I know, Matt. They're fighting with you in the chat. It's okay. People are gonna say weird things. But I don't know, man. I'm getting like impatient right now, it's one of those weird scenarios where we didn't see much, right? The Indianapolis Colts have basically covered every aspect, Cody, that you can ask for from the when it comes to depth purposes, right? We re-signed defensive tackle depth, right? And our defensive end depth. So now our defensive line is covered, right? We we signed we went ahead and who do we just sign? We re-signed Trey Sermon. So, being able to fill out your running back room. You obviously brought back your number one guy. You brought in Joe Flacco. He's your backup quarterback now. So, I mean, you've basically spent this entire free agency mainly just going and filling out the depth piece so far for every single position so far. So, I mean, I'm not too worried about it. But I mean, yeah, it kind of feels like everything that has accumulated for the Indianapolis Colts through this is all leading up to Indy making that one or two really big moves to end free agency. Does it feel like that for you?
I hope so. I really hope so, man. I have been on this Snead train for a while, and so I'm going to be honest. If we don't get Snead, I'm actually going to be pretty devastated at this point because, like, it's just like it makes too much sense. And Derek, I've been pretty critical of Chris Ballard, I feel like, in my time. But it's just like if we don't get a guy for a reasonable, draft capital, I'm just going to be pretty upset, to be honest with you, because it's like, why? Like, at this point, if he's available, like, why not allow him? And he's clear you're interested in him. Like, why not bring him in? So I really hope that happens. Like I said, hope the Quandre Diggs thing happens. Him or Justin Simmons, I'd be good with. So you feel good about free safety and strong safety. And Derek, if you do those three moves, you re-sign Blackman and you do those two moves I just said, man, I'm good till the draft, to be honest with you. Like, impact guys, I'm good till the draft. Like, we don't have to even sign another player. Of course, I wouldn't mind if we did. But you know what I mean? Like, I'm good. Like, because you got some depth, right? You got your backup quarterback. Maybe you sign I know the Colts have been kind of in that AJ Dillon talks, but with Trey Sermon, does that potentially take them out of that? I don't know. But like, then you focus your draft, Derek, on pass rush and weapons, and you're good. And I feel like that's a successful offseason. I really do. Yeah, Matt, I said on Twitter, I said, if this doesn't happen, I'm probably going to take a whole day to go weep or something. So we'll see on that. I know. I really hope.
Yeah, I feel the same way, folks. If Snead does not end up in Indianapolis, I'm going to be the first one he texts, and there's going to be fury behind that message. I'm telling you right now. So, Colts,
and especially if he
goes Snead for my pain and suffering.
Especially if he goes to a division rival, I'm going to be like, I think Chris Ballard's a sleeper agent for the Tennessee Titans or something, because he let the Nico Autry go to them, and now he let L'Jarius Sneed go to them. And obviously I would hate if Blackman signed with one of them either. That would suck. So
hey, guess who just followed us on Twitter?
Who?
The BTJ one.
Let me check.
I'll show you.
No, let me check. I don't want to look.
Folks, this is interesting.
That is interesting.
That's interesting.
Okay.
Paris, we about to see a coming back party? Let Cody
Paris, are you coming back, man? I wouldn't mind that.
Are you coming back to me? You're coming back to me, bro. We'll talk about that later.
Just to heal some past hurts, Derek. I mean, just bring him back.
Hey, I wouldn't mind the resurgence of Paris Campbell, man. But look, this was an interesting comment talking about.
I should message him and say, "Welcome back to Indy?" ?
That would be hilarious, bro. That'd be hilarious.
I was really hoping you would say L'Jarius Sneed followed us on Twitter, and I would have flipped out.
I would have flipped too, bro. Man. Anyways, this comment's very interesting. And get your opinion on this. Chiefs fans are saying the Colts should trade number 15 for Sneed, and the Chiefs would give us their 32nd overall pick. Would you take that? If we basically did a pick swap in the first round, and no,
absolutely not. No. Chiefs fans can think whatever they want. That ain't happening. I am not giving away 15. Nope, never.
All right. Interesting. Okay. That's fine. That's fine with me. That's fine with me. I don't care one way or the other. No
That's
Snead,
so
we
interesting,
riot.
though, that you said that happened. I'm going to message him, Derek, if you're all right with that.
You can go right ahead. Travis, he had a Pro Bowl QB. Bro, enough with the Gardner Minshew Pro Bowl thing. Like, that's ridiculously stupid.
I hope that's like satire. I do.
Derek can now
because
die
if we're going
happy,
there,
man. Bro, literally, I can't. Bro, I love Paris Campbell, man. He is just he's the best dude. Honestly, I've gotten to talk with him a couple once before, and he's awesome, man. I love him.
Yeah.
But
why not we keep our second? Well, I'd rather keep our first instead of our second. Snead gonna follow Cody.
I'm fine with keeping that first,
my mind.
and I'm willing to give up like a couple years worth of seconds just to be able to bring him in. I honestly don't even care. Oh wow! So Joey Bosa restructured his contract to remain with LA.
Derek.
What?
Okay,
what?
I can't share this on the stream, but check the DM.
I'm not gonna say nothing. I'm not gonna say nothing. If you want, bro.
What?
Bro, I swear that. Okay, whatever. We're gonna be done talking about it. Anyways, moving on now.
I don't know what to do.
We're moving on. Nobody knows what we're talking about. Anyways, to the 1,500 people watching right now, love all of you. Thank you. Be sure to comment and be sure to like the stream wherever you're watching. And be sure to subscribe if you haven't yet. We greatly appreciate it. But hey guys, listen, I mean, we're at that point in free agency now where I mean, we're all growing impatient, right? Everybody's talking about the same players. Everybody wants the same guys. We're all there, man. We're all trying to just have this team be better. I mean, Cody, just kind of spill it for you. Like, what do you think is the dream scenario for Indianapolis right now? Like, if you had to do with it and do what it is, just kind of spill what you think the Colts should be doing right now to make this offseason a success.
Okay, the chat is freaking losing their mind right now.
Of course they are. We're not saying nothing.
We're not like So we're basically told don't say anything. So okay.
Yeah, we're not saying
so we literally can't. But anyway, sorry. So when it comes to what the Colts should do, I mean, lock up number one corner, right? That's the big thing we talked about. Get L'Jarius Sneed, do what it costs to get him, as long as you're not doing a first round pick. And I think getting your lockdown number one corner. And then also, like you said, get stability at free safety. And so I think that's a big one. And then also bring back Blackman or a strong safety. And I think you're good. And then you can address the draft. Heck, if Bowers is there or a pass rusher, you're good, Derek. Like, you're good to do that. So I think top priority has to be getting some veterans in the secondary. That for me is that. So
just want some news, man. I just want something to talk about. Yo, so I didn't get your opinion on the Joe Flacco move yesterday. So what was your thoughts when you saw Flacco coming to Indianapolis for this season?
Yeah. Sorry. Anyway, yeah, no, I was honestly not expecting that move, to be completely honest with you, Derek, because I thought, like, I don't know if you saw Flacco was on Pat McAfee's show today. I honestly thought there would be a team that would pay him a lot, like a good amount of money to come and compete. Right. And so, like, with this, like, clearly he's not going to be competing. He's not going to play unless Richardson gets hurt. And so for me, I'm kind of like, okay, like, I'm good with it though, because I mean, even though Flacco was older, I don't know if you saw that Flacco's older than Shane Steichen, which is hilarious.
It's funny to think about.
But with that, Derek, it's like, okay, Flacco when he filled in, what was that, week 10, week 11 when he came in? I mean, he was playing like very strongly, and Derek, he was doing something that Gardner Minshew didn't do last year that drove you and I crazy. Throwing the ball vertically down the field. Joe Flacco he's a gunslinger, Derek. He'll do that, right? And again, you look at the interceptions, you're like, okay, that's kind of like that's a little not great. But I mean, Joe Flacco's a great backup. And also, Derek, he's seen it all, hasn't he? He's been in Baltimore. He's been, with some of the best and worst organizations in football. And I feel like he's been to basically every team at this point. Right. So he's seen it all. He's been a starter. He's been a franchise guy. He's been a backup. And so I think that's just great experience that he brings, and just great like knowledge that he brings for Anthony Richardson. I really do like this move a lot. And especially considering Gardner Minshew's getting paid, what was like $25 million or something like that. I'm good with that move, Derek, because it's a cheap veteran guy that can teach AR a ton. And I think also can, and will, if he needs to step in, he can lead you to some wins. And it's not like Derek, Cleveland was winning, in spite of Joe Flacco. Like we said that about Gardner Minshew, right? The Colts were winning at times in spite of Gardner Minshew, but they were winning because of Joe Flacco. I think that's the difference here, and why I'm excited about a guy like Joe Flacco. And again, it's only a 1-year deal, so again, you'll probably have to be looking for another backup next year because Flacco will be 40. But for this year, I'm good with it, Derek. I'm good getting a veteran in there and just seeing where it goes.
I mean, for me, I just look at it and say all the knowledge that you can give to Anthony Richardson is just underrated. I mean, just all the knowledge that a guy like Joe Flacco can provide for an Anthony Richardson is just so underrated. It's just everything that you could ask for. It's such a great thing for Anthony Richardson to learn these different habits from these players who have, know what it takes to get to that level, right? To get to a Super Bowl, to be able to succeed in this league, because regardless of what everybody feels about Joe Flacco, he has been a successful quarterback in this league for a long time. And that's why he's still here in the NFL, still trying to make things work. So, I mean, I'm totally with it. I don't think it's anything spectacular, but it's definitely great to know that you're going to have a quarterback in there that, can provide great wisdom. And not to mention, like you said, if in the unfortunate circumstance that he were to step in, I'd feel more confident in Joe Flacco to win us a game than Gardner Minshew. I put that on everything.
Yeah, no, for sure. Absolutely. And it feels like in certain ways, Derek, like the vertical passing game wouldn't be lost, not nearly as much as it was last year with, Gardner Minshew. So, yeah, I am totally all right with that deal, but I was shocked when I did see it. I'm not going to lie. I was like, really? Joe Flacco? Did not think he'd be coming to Indy, but he seems excited to be here, man. And Pat's obviously excited to have him. So, yeah, man, I'm good with it. I really am. I'm good with it. And, you secure your backup and you're like, okay, like now we don't really have to even check that off, I guess, in the later rounds as well, unless you still want to take a guy for some trades, but you at least know you have a reliable guy back there. And the Colts kind of swung high for a backup, didn't they? They kind of went a little bit higher because they could have, gone after Tyrod Taylor, or they could have gone after, whoever, insert, free agent here, Tyler Huntley, that type of guy, but they didn't. So I'm all right with it.
1,600 people in here right now, guys. Again, thank you so much to everybody who is tuning in, whether you're watching on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, all those different things. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Be sure to like the stream, guys. wherever you're watching. Be sure to comment, be sure to subscribe, all that great stuff. Thank you to everybody tuning in. Let's see. What else can we... Okay, so if there was, what safety do you absolutely want us to get? Like, if you had to choose one.
Probably Justin Simmons, because he's like an all-pro player. I know he's a little older, but probably out of all the safeties, Justin Simmons. But saying that, Quandre Diggs would be great too. Like, don't make me think that, like, don't hear me saying I don't want Quandre Diggs. Because if they sign Quandre Diggs, I'll be super excited. But I think if I'm choosing, I think the best safety out there available is probably him. Cam Curl would be another one, Derek. We haven't really heard about him, which is shocking because I think he's been a really good player, and he's actually a little bit younger too. So that could be an interesting one. But I haven't really heard anything linking the Colts to Cam Curl. But I would not mind that one either. Do you have a guy for you?
Yeah, Justin Simmons would be that one. I just look at it and I say, realistically, I'd like to think that Diggs would be the one that I think is most likely going to happen, and I would love to see it happen.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, he's been great. He's been great with Seattle. Really good with Seattle. Some people are saying Jamal Adams. Derek, that's crazy because Jamal Adams used to be, I know he used to be so good, though. I felt like he was so good.
And then he has just turned into a dumpster at this point. I mean, he's literal trash. I mean, honestly, I don't know. Like, basically, Cody, this guy has yet to play in 14 games since 2019. Back when he was like at his peak, when he was the best of the best with New York, that's when he was good. And then in 2020, when he was all-pro second team and a Pro Bowler, you know, he's still had a decent, solid season, but his season was cut short because he played in 12 games. Cody, think about this. So in his first 4 seasons, he had over 20 sacks as a safety for his first 4 seasons. His last 3 seasons has failed to even register a single sack. And in the last 3 seasons has played a grand total of 22 games. 22 games. He's played in 22 games, hasn't had a single sack, hasn't forced a single fumble, has only had 8 pass deflections, and had 2 interceptions in 2021 before he went down with his injury. Hasn't had a single one since. Like, I don't know why anyone would want Jamal Adams at this point. I really don't understand it. Like, you can't trust the guy to stay on the field. He played 1 game in 2022 and played in 9 games in 2023. If you in any way, shape, or form are going to insinuate that Julian Blackmon's health is a problem, then you have to have the same energy for Jamal Adams. You have to.
I was like, at that point, just re-sign Julian, you know, because he knows
and not even think twice.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm
and Ryan saying, totally didn't Diggs steal snaps from Jamal in Seattle anyway? He could have been. He could have stolen a few because
isn't Diggs more of a free safety? Isn't he more of a free safety?
He is a little bit more of a free safety. It's just kind of how the defense goes because Jamal's a strong safety, but he's more of a box safety. You know, you bring him up. Yeah. He's not really a guy that is great in coverage anymore. He's more of a guy that makes plays before, before it gets to his safety spot. So I just in no way, and not to mention the vibe you get from Jamal Adams. He's not a player that you want in your locker room. Like, I mean, in what indication anywhere has Jamal Adams told you that he's a good teammate? Honestly, he flipped off his own team when he got hurt in 2021 and flipped off his own coach and his own team. Like, what are we talking about here? Like, The guy's a terrible teammate. He's not a great person. He's not a good football player, not a great football player anymore. Like, how in the world can we talk about Jamal Adams over any of the rest of these guys? Not to mention he's 29 this year. He's going to be, he's about to be 29 this year. It's not like he's a young guy. So, I mean, it's just not smart.
Yeah, I'd rather, I mean, you talked about, who was it? It was, we talked about Julian, he's 25, so he's years younger, nearly 5 years younger than him. And so it's like, why not just re-sign him at that point? He's a homegrown guy. You drafted him. He's played well. He made the transition to strong safety. He had his best season. I know the concern definitely is, Derek, on the injuries, but again, he was really good in your system. So I definitely would say bring him in. Absolutely would be good with that. No doubt in my mind would be good with that.
What's your feeling on bringing Stephon Gilmore back? Because I've seen a ton of people mention that as a possibility, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
I mean, isn't the dude like 34 years old? Like,
yeah, he's going to be 34 this year.
That's getting there, man. And I felt like he kind of fell off a little bit in Dallas. I don't know how you felt about that. I
don't necessarily think he was bad. I don't think he was bad in 2023. I mean, he had the same number of interceptions. He had the same number of interceptions in Dallas as he did for Indianapolis. And, I actually even had pretty much the same amount of stats all across the board were very similar. I just think that, right, there was a couple of points, especially late in that season, especially when you played against Green Bay, where he was like, he looked lost. And that's one of those things where I'm not bringing Stephon Gilmore in to be a starter here. I don't want him to be. Like you said, he's 34. Like, what's the point in doing that? You're only going to get him for a year.
Get a younger guy, that's where I'm at. Obviously you want some veteran experience, but
don't steal the time from the young guys. Like, I get it that he might potentially be better than the young guys potentially, but at the same time, I mean, when it comes to Gilmore, he's only going to have a year or two left in the league. Like, what's the point in having him there if you're not quite ready yet?
Yeah, right. Did you see the extension?
You would make little off topic. Knew you were ready.
Little off topic. Did you see the extension that the Texans gave Joe Mixon?
Yeah, 3-year, $27 million.
Yep. $9 million for Joe Mixon. What do you think about that?
I honestly think it's not that bad. I mean, okay. I mentioned it before. I think he still has the ability to be a top 10 running back in this league. And if you're going to be a top 10 in any position, then you deserve to get paid top 10 money. I have no problem with it. I think it's a good contract.
Yeah. So just non-Colts news, but Curtis Samuel signed with the Bills just now.
Curtis Samuel signed with the Bills. Oh, okay.
Yep. I'm like refreshing and keep refreshing here. I don't know if you're doing that or not, but I feel like I've been doing that for the last couple days. So it's 3-year, $30 million with $15 million guaranteed for Curtis Samuel.
What did you say it was?
3-year, $30 million. 15 of that guaranteed.
Worth up to $30 million. 15 of it's guaranteed. So, hey, I mean, Curtis is he's a guy that can be a gadget player, man. I'll tell you what, he's got something in him. I know that for sure.
Okay, so it's actually 24 up to 30. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Okay, but still, I mean, yeah. I didn't think you'd get that kind of contract, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I don't know. He's one of those players that is just a very strange player because he's exactly what a lot of these players are, but he's been very effective in his role. And I think it's great that he's getting some kind of money here. He's been able to stay healthy. He's been able to stay on the field, and he's been able to do something despite there not being a great quarterback, in that situation.
For sure.
Why is everybody talking about Mike Williams? No, Mike Williams is going to cost way too much. Just get a receiver in the draft.
You think he wants? Yeah, there is obviously the Steichen connection, but yeah, for what he wants and the amount of games he's missed, I'd rather just draft a receiver, to be honest with you, because we're already talking about if you're trying to upgrade and get some veterans in your secondary, it already is probably going to be decently tight. So I don't want to go pay a guy like Mike Williams what he's going to want. So I'm good.
Christian Fulton. Although, you mean the same Christian Fulton that everybody in here was complaining about Alec Pierce, who burned him several times in the game last year against Tennessee and got him benched? You mean that Christian Fulton? Ah!
Yeah, I'm good. I don't know. He is young, though.
What's the market on Mike Williams? Well, I mean, they might have to pay some of the dead cap, but I mean, he's definitely got a market somewhere.
Oh yeah, I think he was supposed to have a pretty decent market, right? That's what they said.
Yeah, a second for T. Higgins. There's no way. There's no way.
That's what they want. Is that what they want for him?
No, that's what somebody's suggesting that we give.
Oh, okay.
And I'm like, there's no way that the Bengals are going to give up T. Higgins for a second round draft pick.
Well, that's Derek why I laugh at what teams like Tennessee did, where they go and pay Calvin Ridley, whatever that was, pretty much Michael Pittman money, right, to be their second receiver. When this receiver class is at the most loaded we've seen in a long time, I'm just like, why are you paying two receivers that are near or over 30, combined $36 million? That's insane. That's crazy. That's a terrible way to use your resources. And again, Calvin Ridley is a good player, Derek, but that's what I'm saying. When it looks at all these veteran options, let those teams be dumb and go overpay for these guys and go and get some of these receivers in this draft and get them cheap and just let them work and grow with Anthony Richardson in this offense. That's how I feel about it. I would rather do that than go, because you're already paying Pittman $23 million a year. I don't want to go pay another receiver north of $20 million, or whatever, or even $15 million. So that's kind of where I stand on it. It's I'm good. These guys are interesting if you didn't just go pay Michael Pittman what you paid him, and you're kind of in this weird cap space right now where it's that's not really a position where I really want to address it in free agency. I think we've kind of said that all along, Derek, is these are going to be some guys the Colts could be interested, but we'd probably prefer the draft because we've heard how well. And from Chris Ballard's mouth, we've heard him say this is one of the best receiver classes I've seen probably since 2020. And we know how good 2020 was. So that's kind of where I stand on it, Derek. I don't know what your thoughts are on this wide receiver market and the class and everything, but to me, that just makes the most logical sense, to do that, go that route.
Yeah, I mean, you're 100% going to get you're definitely going to hit that wide receiver market in the draft. I mean, there's no question about it. I mean, hey, if the Colts want to try to find some, role playing wide receivers, then hey, I mean, all the power to them. And I think that'd be a great thing for Indy to, try to round out the remainder of this roster because, it's going to be very important. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how they approach this. 1,700 people in the chat, by the way. Thank you to everybody.
Yeah, we've had a lot of good turnout recently. It's been awesome.
Thoughts on Jordan Fuller? I would like Jordan Fuller. I'm just not entirely sure he's the kind of safety that fits the scheme, though.
What does he more primarily do? Is he more cover guy? Is he more box type of guy?
I would say he's more of a cover guy. That's just me.
Yeah. Appreciate it, Mark. But yeah. So Derek, we'll see, man. We'll see what happens here with Indianapolis. I'm not sure how they're going to approach this, but dude, I really hope we get some news here, if not tonight, in the next day or two, regarding the L'Jarius Sneed stuff, because that stuff is just, it's so frustrating when you don't have an answer and reports come out and you get all excited and you're like, this could potentially be happening. And then it's just like, nope, it's not happening,
Well,
or whatever. Or it's like nothing's happening. You don't hear anything. And you're like, oh my goodness. Like the whole day, you're like, I haven't heard a thing. I'm going crazy because I want the Colts to make this move, or I just want to know if they're going to say yes or no. Like, that's just what I want to know. I want a clear answer.
Just about to say,
how many of y'all, let me look here. So over 500 people, actually probably around 1,000 people, Derek, who are watching just from Twitter. Let me ask you a question. You people who are on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, do y'all have a YouTube account? If you do, if you could do me one quick favor, I'd greatly appreciate it. Come over to the actual channel. So Bring the Juice, and hit like on the stream. We would greatly appreciate that. Thank you guys. And hit subscribe if you feel so led to do so. So thank you. All right. Well, Derek, any other thoughts or anything else you want to go over here, man, when it comes to free agency, Indianapolis, all this stuff?
Yeah, I mean, mainly, guys, the only thing we're waiting on right now for the Indianapolis Colts when it comes to the L'Jarius Sneed stuff, we're mainly just waiting to see if the Kansas City Chiefs decide to trade him. That's the main part of this whole aspect that I think a lot of people don't quite understand. Is it's kind of one of those things where Indy is waiting because Kansas City is still deciding whether or not they want to actually trade him or not. When we finally decide or hear, which honestly, Cody, it may be one of those things where it could be like a pause type thing where it's as soon as the decision is made and these ball clubs find out about it, then there might be a trade like immediately. Like Indy might be that in that situation where like, hey, we have the best option. We will be the team that is going to give whatever it takes to get this guy. We just need to be informed that whether or not you're going to end up having the balls to trade this guy. And if they do, then we may hear within the same day that that's going to happen. And I know a lot of people are saying like, oh, KC's just playing around. No, they aren't, because if they were playing around, they would have just re-signed him by now. There's literally nothing to it to try to see just what these other teams might be willing to give up if all you're going to do is just try to bring him back.
Yep.
Elio,
no doubt. And Derek, I think for me, it's like the longer we don't see him being re-signed or any news coming out, I think the better for the Colts. I do, because it's like, well, like you said, like they cleared what, 21 million roughly of cap space. It's like, you think they would, if they really were like, we are going to keep him, there's no way we're trading him. Like
they have the money to do it.
Right, I would think they just do it, right? But they're not. It's been a couple days now, so I don't know. I guess that's what gives me hope a little bit, is like, hey, they haven't done anything yet. Now, of course, I say that, and you never know what'll happen. But that's kind of where I am with it, Derek. And Undisputed, I'll unblock you, man. I'll unblock you. We can have. I'm good with that. Anyway, anything else, Derek?
No, I think that's everything, man. Honestly, I'm just waiting around in anticipation for anything to talk about. Hey guys, maybe I might go live again tonight. I don't know. Just
we'll see, man.
I just to be here. I don't know. It's just a lot. I'm just waiting for when some news breaks that I'm a part of on a live stream. So
I know. I know. That would be nice. I'm trying to find this.
I'm gonna tweet this right now, and anyone that sees it, please like and comment on it, because helps with everything. This is a great thing. I just want to remind everyone, if Richardson remains healthy next year, this will not be the same team as last year, regardless if we run it back with close to the same team as last year. Richardson will be our ultimate weapon, and this team automatically takes a leap. I think that's something that a lot of people are just forgetting, is they're like, oh, like this is the same team as last year. It won't be if Anthony Richardson remains healthy. This team automatically takes a leap if Richardson is out there versus what we had last year.
And Derek, I mentioned at the beginning, but I have a couple people who have some, information, I guess some inside sources, within the Colts organization. And one of my guys, he said, trust me, the Colts are going to make some moves. Like, they're going to make some moves in the secondary. They're very aware that they need some help. Like we saw with the Quandre Diggs interest, right? Like, so I do believe they'll make a couple moves. Now, what are those moves? I don't know. I don't know what exactly it is. I do know they're very interested in Snead. I do know, obviously, we talked about with Diggs, they're interested in him. They're interested in Justin Simmons. And those were just a couple of the ones that they've, been verified and saying, who knows? The Colts are very good, I feel like, Derek, in a lot of ways, to like keeping things really like on the DL. So there could be other guys we're not even talking about that the Colts could be talking to right now, like you just don't know.
Yep.
But
it's going to be one of those things. So.
Yep.
Well, all right. Well, I don't know if I have anything else for you, man.
I don't think so either. I mean, we've covered a lot. Gosh, the good thing is, Derek, interactions and views have been up like crazy, so we're very thankful for that.
We appreciate everybody on Twitter that's been tuning in too. Like, I mean, we've been having around 1,500 people from all of our different accounts on Twitter, for just tuning in and watching and listening. I mean, we greatly appreciate all of you guys doing that, even if it's not on YouTube. Still greatly appreciate whoever that can actually tune in for these. We greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you just exploded like on Twitter. So thank you, everybody. Really, we appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, nearly 600 people just watching from the podcast. That's awesome, man. That's incredible. So thank you.
Yep. All right. Well, we'll just go ahead and end this one here, guys. We'll keep you informed if anything else happens, but greatly appreciate everybody tuning in. And what?
Yes. Be sure, guys, even if for those of you who are watching on Twitter, go to our channel, hit subscribe, turn on the notification bell, because we drop the content as soon as we possibly can. We do that. So you want to be in the loop for that. Trust me, you want to be in the loop for that. So that's my little plug there, Derek, for everybody. And I think probably 99% of the people who are watching have a YouTube account of some sort. So really do appreciate it, guys.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll keep you updated on anything else that we hear. And as always, guys,